Hello, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of Disruption Talks. It's a place where top experts discuss digital acceleration, winning innovation strategies, and product scaling. Remember that you can find all of the episodes of Disruption Talks on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. My name is Alexandra Preis, and I'm the head of growth at Netguru. Let me start by thanking the wonderful team behind the Disruption Talks series for inviting me to host today's episode. So it's my first time hosting a discussion like this. So, my stress levels are probably the same as my level of excitement about today's conversation. So it's a great pleasure of mine to invite a fellow marketer and a product leader, Stephanie Bowker. Stephanie, hello.
Hello. Thanks, Ola. Thanks for having me.
So Stephanie is the head of marketing at Spendesk, the company behind the innovative spend management platform. And Spendesk has just raised yet another 100 million euros of funding and has also achieved the unicorn status. So hi again, Stephanie. It's official right now. So first of all, big congratulations for getting the funding.
Well, thank you. It's a super fun announcement to finally share. And thanks, Netguru, for having me. I've been an avid fan of your content and your community for quite some time now. I've even had a chance to come to your great disruption events in London and Paris. So I feel honored to be with you.
Thank you. I'm thrilled that you found the time to share your insights with us. So let's get down to it. So we usually start this discussion by digging deeper into your role. Could you please tell us more, just a little bit about your role at Spendesk?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm the head of marketing at Spendesk, which includes demand gen, website, product marketing, community, content, PR, and design. And together, our team is responsible for increasing brand awareness, driving pipeline generation, and increasing product adoption.
Perfect. And I just forgot one more announcement to make just right before we start, that there will be a Q&A session at the end of our episode. So if you have any questions for Stephanie, please type them in, and then we will try to have them answered at the end of today's episode. So yeah. We are, after the short introduction, we already know what you do at Spendesk. So what's your, typical day in life being a head of marketing of a company that scales so fast?
Yeah, good question. I know, honestly, I'd say, my day-to-day really depends on the time of the quarter, which I think, Ola, you can probably also agree with. But I think it's to start, I would give context to where the marketing team is today, because my role has really shifted and changed over the last couple of years, especially this last year as the team doubled to now being almost 30 marketers and now having 4 team leads who are managing each core function. So that means my focus has shifted. And so I'd really say that bucket where I spend my time into kind of 5 main areas. The first one being internal communication and collaboration, which takes the majority of my time. And this means like meetings, presentations, tracking against our OKRs to really represent marketing across the rest of the org. Second, I would say in really like performance and project review. So reviewing campaigns, launches, budgets, our funnel performance. And then the third biggest area is really the people. So hiring is a big focus, but also team management and development for those on the team. And then 2 areas that I would love to spend more time on that take a smaller percentage of my time is right now is global company strategy. So really looking, 2-3 years out as where we need to invest in the product, in the market. And then the last one is things like this. So networking and ongoing learning. So I try to set myself, a monthly objective to speak to external experts and leaders like you, Ola, and read books, podcasts, stay on top of tools and trends. Because, we work in a super fast moving environment. And I think it's important to invest in staying on top of those things.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm very happy to be, contributing to your monthly objective. of speaking to external people. So I have a follow-up question to this, because I know that you've scaled the marketing team at Spendesk from 2 to 30, as you've just said. So what do you do if you have to hire a person that is, far from your direct scope of your competences? So basically, you have to hire people that do something that you cannot do. How to hire them effectively?
Okay, good question.
How do you approach it?
Sorry, good question on that. So honestly, when I first joined, I hired many people that were better at their function than I was. I think being a head of marketing does not mean I have every single expertise in every single field, but I think it's just knowing what is the job to be done, knowing what are the kind of core skills needed to be successful in that job. So hard skills, but also soft skills. Some functions in marketing are much more analytical. Other ones require strong communication skills.
Sure.
So I think honestly, it first starts with a very clear scorecard that, I vet with then other people in my network that are experts in that. So I think leaning on my network very quickly to compare and to challenge me as to whether it's the right type of person I'm looking for. So I'd say that's kind of how I have hired people that are in roles I've not held myself before.
Perfect. Thank you. I also struggle with this every single time, so I find those tips pretty, awesome. Okay, so within the marketing team, I assume that you already have all the missions and KPIs for this year in place. So maybe you would like to share shed some light on this.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say really we have, if we pick one word to sum up, 2022 for us on the marketing team, it's really awareness. We're really focused on building awareness of our product, but also awareness as our team, as we're looking to hire people to also help attract new people. But specifically, we have 5 core objectives this year. So first is to double website traffic. Second is to really increase that brand awareness in our local markets. 3, we're really transitioning to really all-bound and looking at how we drive all-bound lead generation. 4, we're really building a dedicated employer brand. So we've really had a bit ad hoc on how we've created content, and now we're going to hire a dedicated person to really focus on that. And then last, I know this isn't going to be specific, but we have a big product launch coming in the fall that we're preparing for.
Perfect. So within those missions, I assume that there are metrics that you really, you think that they are so important, and there are some that are tracked, somewhere on site, maybe, more for the sake of tracking and observing than for, really taking them into consideration while taking decisions. So what metrics are, the core metrics that you use every day to track the health of your team's performance? And what do you consider, I would say, like vanity metrics maybe?
Yeah, so like many companies, we track many metrics, KPIs kind of at every point of the funnel, but also from a campaign, a program perspective. For me, I would say the metrics that I'm looking at on really a weekly basis and that are really important for our business. First, I would say month-over-month traffic. This is really the biggest indicator for me of our increased awareness and demand, and also the split of that traffic. So branded, direct, where it's coming from, and organic and paid. Second is really our MQL to opportunity conversion. For me, that really shows the health of the quality of pipeline we're sending to sales, because ultimately we want to make sure that we're sending over the right people, so we're spending the right time. Third, I would say website conversion. That is extremely important metric that we look on a monthly basis, because this is the effectiveness of our positioning and our offer. And then lastly, on the marketing side is really community members. So this is how we're measuring our extended reach and our target audience. And so we're looking at community members. I think you asked about vanity metrics, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Did you agree with those metrics or any differences for you?
Everything is clear, and I agree also with everything. We also track the traffic month over month. We also track the conversion to opportunities. So pretty the same, although the character of our business is different. But yeah, this is the set of the metrics that I also really love to track. Yeah. So moving on to the vanity ones.
Yeah, I mean, Vanity Metrics, I think it really depends on the industry, the business, and whether you're B2B or consumer. But I would say a few metrics that for us really aren't moving the needle and aren't a key focus for us is one, social followers, because really we're pushing our engagement and engagement in the community. Second is time on website, because we actually want to move visitors to make an action quickly. So I think if we shared, wow, people are spending so much time on a page, it's more of an indicator that they're probably lost or don't know what to do. And then I would say the last one, honestly, is leads. Leads, there's a lot of easy tricks to get contact information. And so that's why I think at minimum, they have to move to MQL, a marketing qualified lead, so that they've hit a certain threshold of intent and are scored. So I think leads for us, I think are things that we don't look at too much.
Same here. I look at the number of leads, of course, but at the same time, it's not like the main north star for my team. So we are only tracking it, but with calm. Okay, so has any of those metrics and missions changed due to the pandemic?
You mean which ones kind of have been impacted?
Yeah.
I would say, a couple of them have increased for sure. Other ones we've struggled with. So community membership honestly skyrocketed during the pandemic, as we saw a lot of people, I think, looking for connection, taking more time to step back and build out time in their weeks to learn, connect, and network. And so I would say community membership really, really grew fast. I think where we saw a bit of a dip is, I think, initially, but we've really recovered, I would say, is just in traffic. I think a lot of people were stopped actively searching to make a change in tools, right? I think people were pausing their budgets, pausing big shifts and change. So I think traffic was one of the immediate kind of metrics that was hit in the first couple months.
Okay, so the pandemic, big scaling, big funding. What challenges those situations, I would say, those factors pose in front of you as the head of marketing and your team, of course?
You mean specifically for in context of the pandemic, or just kind of?
Not really. It's just just another factor.
Yeah. So I think at this stage, we're we've reached product market fit, and there's obviously a big need for our category. So I'd say, we're definitely facing many external challenges with the growing number of companies that are entering the space, which increases, the cost of acquisition. But I would actually say some of our biggest challenges are more internal, and it's about keeping the team focused. Because when the company scales so fast, brings on more people, that means more people need to be brought along for decisions. And so it can really slow the team down. And so, and overly focus on maybe more internal marketing versus external marketing. So I would say it's really a balancing act right now for most of the people on my team.
Yeah, including people in decisions, but also onboarding them and making them, know all the processes. I really like this. There is a chart somewhere in the World Wide Web with like a geometric figure that gets more and more complicated, and it reflects like the number of connections between different people when new people are joining the organization, because it's a trap to think that if you hire a new person, that means that the work is done, basically. No, the work's already, it's just starting.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. It's a great visual.
Yeah. Okay. For us, it was also quite challenging, like to adjust to the post-pandemic world, mostly because of the fact that we have to, balance the external with internal, I would say. But the external part is mostly about making decisions whether to go somewhere or not to go, balancing act also when it comes to the balancing the safety, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that your team will be working on the next big launch. So is it somehow connected with the rounds that you've already received?
So
Yeah.
we won't reveal what it is yet because I know
Okay.
that the product team wants to keep it locked up. But I would say it's just connected to the round in being that we now have more investment to be able to hire faster. So we're going to be able to launch it faster. So I think that's as much as I'll share.
Okay. I will ask some more, I would say, questions about it, but feel free to stop me at any time. So, what's the feeling about after the announcement? How did it go for you guys?
I mean, honestly, I think it was, I would say proud, super energized, grateful, and I think partially relieved too when you're the team who has to kind of keep these kind of things secret. So, but honestly, it was just a really, really fun moment for the team. As this was one of those moments that it's really a company-wide win. So I think that was really special. But honestly, I'm mostly excited about what it brings, the opportunity to invest in our people and our products. So I think it's just the start of the next phase.
Yeah. When I'm reading like the announcements of different companies getting funding, I'm always curious about how they actually make decisions on what to, invest in, and how to adjust, what they will be offering within their products, and what they will focus on developing after the funding next. So maybe you can share some perspective on it, but I'm not insisting by any
Yeah,
means.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think, well, I'd start to say that there really wasn't a decision on what to build because I think it's the same strategy. We're not really shifting our strategy. We're not really shifting what our core mission is. We're looking to help empower finance teams and employees to spend smarter at work, and we have that vision for what we want to build the platform to be for the next 3-5 years. So really, I think all the decision is okay, what parts do we accelerate more focus on? And that means in product, but also in go-to-market as well. What markets do we put more investment in? And then from those two things, that's where you figure out who you need to hire. Who do we not already have in-house? So I'd say that's where it is.
Okay. And you mentioned that you are after like maybe in the middle of the process of creating a new category that is basically spend management. So how do you make sure that the offer that Spendesk has as a platform is really, a reflection of what the target group needs?
Yeah. So I think we have lots of different places that we verify whether we have product market fit. So we do a quarterly product, market fit survey to see, is it what people expect? We also have our NPS as well to be able to kind of track also around the success of our platform. I think, we do multiple types of also just ongoing research, both qualitative and quantitative to see, how much of the product is being adopted. I think product adoption is a really important numbers to look at because then you see, are people using it the way that you expected them? Are they taking on the full usage of your tool? I think that is also like a verification that it's working. And then I would say the last one is the word of mouth. I think that's the next step of that flywheel is, are people using it really well? Are they giving you positive feedback? And then are they recommending it, to their network?
And product adoption, how are you measuring it?
Many different ways. So I think for us, product adoption is what percentage of it is rolled out to the company, because we're a platform that really the whole company can adopt. So we look to see what's the penetration rate on the number of employees and then the employees that actively use it. The second is spend. So how much are they spending their full budget through the platform? So that way that they're really putting everything through Spendesk versus maybe using us and a couple other tools. And then we have kind of a bit more specific metrics when it comes around to the accounting portions, the budget portions, to really see if they're setting up kind of the full accounting bookkeeping foundations.
Perfect. And about the feedback rounds, because I assume that you are generating like a huge amount of feedback out of all of those surveys and talking to people. How are you making sure that this feedback is actually, implemented?
So very, very, very good question. And it's one of kind of actually the big topics that we're tackling right now, because I think if anything, I think our feedback overloaded. And I think what we're trying to do right now is kind of create and centralize that feedback into more actionable insights. So we do a monthly review through product board and through that NPS survey to kind of compile the main sentiments to bring back to the product team. But it's kind of the work in progress that we're doing right now between the product team and PMM team to build a more comprehensive report to help the product team.
Yeah, because it can change like priorities from time to time, right? Because on one side you have your ambitions, OKRs, and the roadmap, and on the other side there is reality, which often changes like the feedback and changes priorities. So how are you guys, facing it?
How do we face the juggling priorities?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it all in the end has to go down to impact, urgency, and the number of people it impacts. So I think like obviously if we have a crazy banking issue where we have, even if it's a small number of our customers, but they can't do the core flow, we're going to stop and focus on that. But if it's a nice to have kind of feature that, although yes, we want to add it because it creates more delight, but ultimately right now, isn't necessarily a main part of the core user flow, then it's something we just consciously, have to decide that we're defocusing that for now, because really we want to focus on the core use cases.
Perfect. And you mentioned that you will spend the part, at least, of the funding on recruiting. Mm-hmm. So who are you going to recruit, and how are you making sure that the offer that Spendesk has for its potential employees is attractive on the market? Because we all know that the talent shortage is a thing right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, well, let's say first to start, we're looking for more than 100 people across all of the teams. Big investments in the product and engineering org is we're going to really focus on building the product faster, but we're hiring across. How are we going to do that? There's no one, kind of magic solution, but I think, before talking about attracting new people, I think it's really important to talk about investing in your existing employees. So really we've hired, 400 rock stars, and we're the Spendesk, leadership team is really focusing on showing that we value them by improving our benefits, the training, and in finding more creative ways to keep everyone engaged during these challenging times. So, a few programs that I'm really proud that we've recently implemented is Better Up leadership coaching, Mocha Health for mental well-being, and the Energy Project. So I think, you first, put energy into the people you have to retain, and then, they really help advocate and bring on new people. I would say, secondly, to answer your question more also on how do we attract, for us, it's really a bottoms up strategy, as I kind of alluded to before, as now we're going to formally, put more official employer branding content, but we really believe in employee generated, content, social takeovers, thought leadership, where we share the mic with individual contributors, people from every team, because, we believe people want to join a human first environment. And so we focus on creating more raw, fun, thoughtful content that helps people see who we are. And so through that's how we hope to attract some of the best.
Perfect. And 400 people is a lot, I have to say. It's a really impressive number. And I was listening yesterday actually to the podcast with your colleague, Luke, from Spendesk as well, here on Disruption Talks as well. And he said that what means to him a lot is turnover, because it's not a success to recruit a lot of people, but it's a success to retain them at the organization. So it really struck me that the number that we should actually track is not the number of people that we hire, but the number of people that we retain. So the net hire people that actually stay at the organization. So is turnover a thing at Spendesk, where you experiencing the great resignation?
No, well, I think I completely echo my colleague Lucas's sentiment that we do track our employee retention rate,
Yeah.
and it's a really important number for us. I don't have the percentage right off the top of our head, but I do know that it's below average. And of course, I think this last year in time, we've had turnover, like every company, for multiple reasons. So I think because people don't see themselves maybe as a growing company, or maybe they want to change something completely. But I do think globally overall, we've really been able to retain most of our talent. But if someone does want to take a new opportunity, I think what we also do is make sure that they have a really great offboarding, because ultimately they're always a Spendesker alumni, and we help kind of make that transition for them as easy as possible too.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense. It also resonates with me perfectly. Okay, so moving on to the marketing team again, because I know that you are going to recruit more people to marketing as well. So what skills for your team you will be looking for this year?
Yeah, so we are looking to grow the squad by about 12 people this year. I would say across all the different squads, but I would say two specific skill sets we're really looking to bring onto the team. One is product-led growth marketers, as we're really looking to scale that end user acquisition as well. And then secondly, really German market experts is where we're looking to build our presence, our local expertise there. So I would say those are our two specific skill sets that we're looking to bring into the team. So if you know anyone, bring them, send them my way.
Okay. So what was the process of deciding that, German, right now, let's focus on Germany?
Oh, well, I mean, we're focusing on all our core markets. So France, UK, and Germany in equal forefront. But I think it's more just that, we're a French founded team. So we have a lot of French colleagues. We also, our UK office grew quite quickly. It's more that we've just recently opened our Hamburg office. So it's more just looking to hire specifically more locals there.
Okay. I understand. And the community, because you've mentioned that the community is something that is really important for you at Spendesk. I guess it's international, though, not only focused on Germany, yes. Right? Okay, yeah. So go ahead, please. Maybe I know that you would like to shed some light on the community as well.
Yeah, sure. And I want to ask you about your community too. But yeah, so CFO Connect is our global finance community, as you mentioned, and resource hub for finance leaders. So it's all about meeting, sharing, debating. And so it actually was one of our first programs that we built for the marketing. And today we've grown to now just over 7,500 active members.
Wow, that's a really big number. Okay, guys, so this is a really, really big number, and I have to say that I'm lost of words right now. So what's the link between the community and the product?
Well, so there's no requirement to use the Spendesk product to be a part of the community. It's absolutely free and open. But I think the link more is that the community is really an invaluable source of insights for us. So they provide more broader insights, not just on like spend management, but in general, what are the needs and topics of the finance community. We also obviously do some user groups, surveys and such as well. But I think it's really more about deeply understanding, what's important to them, what's the rest of their tool stack that we know we need to fit into, and how's their role changing. Because I think that's really also been the reason to build spend management as well, is that the role of finance is changing. And so this is the perfect place to learn it firsthand.
Yeah, I totally understand and I totally agree. We have a very similar experience with our community, and it's a funny story actually for us, because right now we are here hosting this, disruption talk, and you've already had a chance to experience the disruption forum event. So you already see the link between, right? So there is there is something bigger behind the disruption talks and disruption forum. We also have disruption guides, for example. So we created a brand and we called it a disruption brand. So this is something bigger behind our, also our community. And we created this brand mainly for global innovators, for people that are, future oriented, interested in digital transformation, in digital acceleration, in solving problems, basically scaling businesses, products, stuff like that, right? Just like us, just, people who share our interests. And we invited those people to basically co-create the disruption brand, various formats together with us, share their insights, share their ideas, exchange ideas, network. And it happened that they liked each other so much that they basically strived for yet another format to be able to connect even more. So we provided them with the format, and the community, disruption community, is the format for them. So we usually have a meeting from time to time. It's usually once in 3 weeks, more or less, I would say. And we host it in a very casual atmosphere. We have like people from more than 20 countries right now. There are less than 100 people right now, but also we are trying to keep it cozy right now, just to be able to provide the cozy safe space experience, and really the discussions that are happening there. They're invaluable, because basically we exchange ideas. As I said, we bring some experts that are teaching us stuff, that are basically providing us with data, with comments on trends and challenges of the world. So yeah, I totally agree with your point on your community, and I think that this is actually the future of marketing for many B2B businesses, to be able to get this constant stream of outside perspective.
Nice. And I have a question for you, because I think it's one of the big ones. How do you measure the impact of your community on the rest of your business?
So we didn't create the community for the business itself. We wanted to have, as I said, this external stream of perspective and ideas, and to be able to be very close to the challenges of global innovators, and to be able to have meaningful conversations with them. And the only thing that we do with this audience is that from time to time we offer them smaller tests of our offering and ask for feedback, and that's it. That's enough. The feedback that we get and the perspective that we get, the insights that we can share with the audience, and the stuff that we learn from the audience, this is, this is value that speaks for itself. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. But I know it's a question we get raised a lot too, around the short term, kind of metrics that people want to look around the success of a community, when really it's a long-term investment, right? It's something that you start to really see payoff year, 2, 3 years down the line, when you're able to bring back the insights to the product, but even more so the broader trust with your audience.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Okay, so I think that we are slowly getting to an end of our episode, but I have only one question that we usually ask almost all our speakers. So, and then we will go to the questions from the audience. So the question is about the magic wand. And if you have a magic wand, if you had one, if you could cast a spell, what would you, allow you to provide education on a specific topic or subject to all 12 years old in schools right now in the world? What would you like to teach them, and why?
So I was lucky Ola sent me this one before. But honestly, I think I had the same immediate reaction. It's personal finance. I think it's something super important for everyone to be able to learn at a young age, to have equal opportunity for financial freedom. So I think personal finance is something we underinvest in our education system.
Yeah, precisely. I actually had the same thought when I had to, apply for mortgage. So I fully agree. Okay, so thank you, Stephanie. It was a really insightful conversation. And right now, let's dive into the comments and try to find some questions, because I know that there are some, but the chat was pretty lively on today's episode. So starting with a question from Kasia. What would be, let's say, 3 tips that you would give hiring managers when recruiting a specialist, marketing specialist?
Great question. I'm not trying to repeat what I already said, but I think the first tip is be very clear around what you expect of this person to deliver against. I think that's when, and so I like that you said marketing, specialists. So being super clear on how they'll be measured from a success perspective. And I'm not talking about necessarily just numbers, but also just in general, the impact they'll make. I would say the other tip is, I always think a case study is an important part of the hiring process. I know this one can be quite controversial because it obviously takes people's time, and I don't like people to do work for free, but I do really think it's an important step in a hiring process for both parties, for the person to know what they're going to be actually doing. And I think it's for you to have a really fair assessment of their ability to do that role beyond just some of the conversations. And then I would say third, though, this is actually aside from whether it's a marketing specialist or anyone, I think be really conscientious of having a diverse and someone outside of marketing in your hiring recruitment process. So I think it's important to make sure that you don't just have all of the same minds on this, because I think you'll start to hire the same person, the same personality, maybe the same skills. So I just say challenge who you also have in that recruitment process.
Perfect, thank you. Mateusz asks a question: are there any differences between running a marketing in fintech and other industries, verticals, or not really? Is there something different in going to market in that area?
Thanks for all the questions. So lots of differences, also lots of similarities. I think fintech, anything in finance and anything with a bit of a regulatory arm to it, I think there's obviously a lot of important kind of constraints and things that you have to be conscientious of just to be compliant, and to be really clear on setting expectations with your customers. So I think that's a difference. Is in fintech, I work much more closely with the head of banking, head of compliance, and head of legal than at some of the other previous industries I've worked for. Then in terms of industries and verticals, so globally right now, we don't have a very verticalized or industry marketing approach at Spendesk. But I have done it at previous products, one being when I was at Intuit. I think the biggest difference to an industry or vertical approach is actually the channel to find them, because there's some industries that aren't as present perhaps on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn for our tech, SaaS, professional services is one of our top performing channels, and I'm sure Ola agrees. But for verticals such as construction, they're not on LinkedIn, so you have to find new channels and new ways to reach them, to engage, to build trust. So I'd say that's the bigger shift in a marketing strategy for industries and verticals is where you're finding and engaging with them.
Okay, I think that you've partially covered also the next question from Rafał. So are there certain differences between spend management industries in Europe and US? How does affect Spendesk positioning?
So yes, there is. And a lot of it has to do with how the credit system works. And how interchange works. So the US and the EU have very different regulations in what a company can, what's the interchange rate on the movement changed. And so it's a much higher in the US. So that's why you're able to see that a lot of the products are given away for free. Because they can make all of their profit based on just those interchange fees. So that's really the difference there. How does it affect Spendesk's positioning? So our ambitions is really to be a global offering, and so how does it affect us? I think it's more that we're just taking on the more challenging market first. I think or challenging markets, right? Because the EU is many markets that has different partners, different integrations, different regulations, different languages, different currencies, and so I think it positions that we're setting up. We're taking on the more complex one, so then we can move over to the US, which although of course has many different challenges as well. It's competitive in terms of the fundraising and the advertising dollars that we're going to go against, but in terms of language operations, it's a lot simpler than the EU market.
Mateusz has a pretty similar question about entering the US market, because for many companies from that side of the big pond is a big step, basically entering the US market. So any secret tips that you can share on how to do it? Any lessons learned that you would like to share?
I can share some, but I'm still in the learning process on what to do as well. So I think one of my biggest pieces of advice is when you're going, go. I think a lot of I talk to a lot of EU founders, startup owners that reach out to me and ask about how to market into the US. And I think a lot of times they think about it and spend a lot of time, money, and resources on the pre-planning. I would say that if you're going to go, you really have to go because you're going to need to, and you need to have a sizable budget dedicated to it. It really is a market that there is a higher cost to entry, especially when it comes to paid advertising. And I think the other thing but this is the same that I would have for any market is finding someone who's already has a local network. Same, that's why we're talking about in Germany. I think the world revolves and works around networks. And so I do think it's really important if you are going to go into the US to find someone who has already worked for the US market to help open it, because otherwise I think it's really hard to break in. But we can, if you message me on LinkedIn, we can talk more about it.
Okay. And the next question, how did you scale your engineering as the product grew?
So truthfully, I won't have any great answers for this. I think Luca spoke all about this in the previous episode, so maybe I'd encourage to watch that one.
Yeah.
But I would say that, we scaled the engineering, pretty proactively as much as we could in anticipation of our next features to build. But I would say Lucas probably has the best answers on this question.
So please remember that you can always find Disruption Talks on Spotify, and there is the episode with Lucas that Stephanie is talking about, so we can go there and listen to this episode as well. Małgorzata Madalińska-Piętka has a question about the community. So she says that CFO Connect sounds great. What's the key value CFOs like her get from joining the community? So is it about sharing insights and supporting thought leadership efforts, or maybe there is something more in it?
Yeah, so I'm very excited that you're enticed. So there's a couple different value props. So what we offer through CFO Connect is, first, there's a private Slack channel. So this is the smaller, as you used, Ola, cozier group. So people can have those direct one-on-one conversations. We also have done a lot of membership services, such as membership matching, which is one of our most popular kind of value-add services that we have. Second, then it's a lot about co-created thought leadership content. So we have the CFO podcasts, we have AMAs, the newsletter. We also do kind of a big quarterly report as well, based on kind of what are the main trends. So these are just really, really premium, data-rich pieces of content to help give for free to any of both members, but also anyone who wants to just stay on top of the trends. And then third is just creating lots of moments for networks and connections. So both in person and virtual, more so now. But it's really just about allowing people who usually are in a function that are quite siloed to find their colleagues, if you will, find people to talk things through, share their own kind of best practices and learn from.
Perfect. Sounds really interesting, although I'm not a CFO yet. So the next question is from Przemysław. And the question is about the fact that you have various partnerships on your website, partners, logotypes. So you cooperate with various companies as your partners in different models, consultant, integrators, strategic partners. What would be your advice on the management of different partnerships models at one company?
So yes. So to start, we kind of multiple different partners. So maybe to give a couple definitions. So we have our integrators are more of our tech partners. So these are ones that we kind of co-build a native integration, as we know that this is typically a critical connection for our users to extend what they need to do to complete their finances. So right now, most of our integrations are with accounting software platforms, so they can really do that end-to-end budget management. Our second partners are ones that we do with a lot of our advising roles to our customers. So these are consultants, lawyers, accountants, the network that our finance community relies on. And so we work with more of them as like a channel partner so that we can offer them content expertise, et cetera, so that they can promote and also leverage our product for their customers. And then the third kind of partners that we work with are more kind of tangential services. So things like HR software, that we have a really shared kind of audience that we can co-create, helpful content, an event or something that can give back to the community. So, but to answer your question, how, do what's my advice for how do we manage these at scale? I think a big part is prioritization. Can't even say the word, but prioritization on.
It's a pretty complicated word.
No, which partners you work with, because especially as you grow, there'll be more interest in people wanting to work with you, which is wonderful and super exciting. But I think you just have to be clear on which one drive the most value to your customers. And then also which can you find the mutual benefit in the partner, kind of giving an equal give to that partnership, right? You want to work with companies and people that share the same kind of mission. So yeah. I think like anything that you're trying to scale, I think it's all about focus and prioritization.
Okay, thank you. And the last question, I think, from the audience, it's about your thought leadership goals and your approach to industry events. So how do you select those that your team or you personally should attend to, and how do you measure if it was, worth it?
So very nice question. Again, I'm going to keep coming back to, we have a kind of a framework. We love frameworks to kind of pre-select all the different types of events that we want to go to. So we look at ones that are help us reach our awareness targets. So does this have a broad audience? Do they have kind of a connected maybe strategy of promotion that we believe will increase our reach beyond channels that we're already not in today? Then there's ones that are more focused on, I would say, lead generations or potential business opportunities. So maybe they're smaller events, but it's a really great opportunity to send some of our sales team to have really valuable conversations, and it's a good ROI in terms of the amount of bookings they'll make. And then I would say the third kind of ones we look at are more around whether they match our thought leadership and communications objectives. So those are things maybe like where we'd have Rod come get to speak, or someone else on the team get to speak, and it's more of a way to continue that conversation and build trust. So those are kind of the three different types, and then we just kind of look at the balance of who's the audience, and does it match against the ROI of what we hope to get out of it.
Yeah, I understand, and I have a follow-up question towards the events because we already have like two more minutes to go. So the question is, are you more into building big booths on events and promotion, like paying for promotion for a really nice stand on the event space, or rather into sending BD reps for meetings on those events? What's your general approach to this?
Yeah. So if you're talking about physical events, right? Because I would say even we truthfully have overall, I would say, spent very little on physical events even before COVID. So, but in general, if we do go to an event, I would say we've been looking to spend more on the value and the conversations versus a booth. So I think we mostly try to create more of a fun interaction, a moment, perhaps connected to the event or at the event. Like one SaaS talk 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we didn't have a booth, but we sent a bunch of reps to walk around with our giant purple cards and created a really fun game for people to participate in, and just promoted it on social beforehand. And we strummed up way more conversations than we've had, when we've created a booth where people, have to come to us. So I would say that's I don't know, we don't have one fit, but I would say overall we look for more of like adding experiences at events versus then just sponsorship.
Fully agree, fully understand. Yeah. So again, thank you a lot, Stephanie, for finding the time to share your insights with our audience. It was a really insightful and amazing conversation. I had a really great time talking to you today. So I hope it was fun also for you. at least, so a little bit. And yeah, please remember that you can find all of the episodes of Disruption Talks on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And thank you to Stephanie for today's afternoon.
Yeah, thanks, Ola. It was super fun.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great day.